Let me tell you something that truly worries me on a deep level. Just last week, a 67-year-old woman walked into my office. She was elegant, intelligent, and her life was very well put together. Then she said something that completely stunned me. She looked at me and said, "I have fallen in love, and I feel like I'm losing control of my own life." In that moment, I realized something very serious that most people never talk about. Falling in love after 60 is not the same as falling in love at any other age. I'm not talking about sweet romance or heartwarming stories. I'm talking about real dangers that almost nobody dares to discuss, because by the time you reach this stage of life, you have built routines, stability, and independence through decades of hard work. And when love shows up, it can hit like an emotional storm that sweeps through everything you've built. And here is the part that worries me the most. A lot of people over 60 keep repeating the same risky mistakes. Mistakes that cost them their freedom, their peace of mind, and in some cases, even their entire savings. But before I go any further, if this topic feels meaningful to you, please take a second to like this video right now. And if you want more content that protects you in this chapter of life and helps you make wiser decisions, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This kind of information can truly change things, not only for you, but for someone you care deeply about. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal today could save you from one of the most painful experiences a person can go through later in life. And no, I'm not exaggerating. Let's go straight into the truth. The first dangerous problem with love after 60 appears in a very clear form. Many people mistake loneliness for love. Pay very close attention here, because this is extremely important. When you reach your 60s, chances are you have experienced real loss. Maybe you lost a partner. Maybe you went through a divorce after many years together. Or maybe your children moved away and created their own lives, and suddenly your home feels too silent, too empty. That loneliness, that deep emptiness, can feel like a painful wound inside you. And when someone appears who listens to you, gives you attention, and makes you feel noticed again, your brain does something dangerous. It labels that comfort as love, but many times it is not real love at all. Let me be honest with you. Over the years, I have watched strong, kind, intelligent people fall into terrible relationships simply because they couldn't see the difference between craving companionship and genuinely loving someone. And do you know what the scariest part is? This confusion after 60 causes much more damage than it ever did at 20 or 30. Why? Because your relationship with time changes. You begin to feel a kind of urgency. You start telling yourself, "I don't have much time left," or "this might be my last chance to feel something real." And those thoughts push you to rush. They make you ignore things you should never ignore. They make you open your heart too fast. I've seen people move in together in less than 3 months. I've seen people mix their finances after only 6 months, and 1 year later they sit in front of me devastated, asking how they allowed their life to fall apart so quickly. And then comes the truth most people avoid. Loneliness is healed through human connection, but not always through romantic connection. Your need for closeness can be met through friendships, group activities, community gatherings, helping others, or returning to passions you once loved. But when you make one person the cure for your loneliness, you're not building a relationship from love. You are building it from emotional dependence. And emotional dependence after 60 is extremely dangerous because it hides well. It hides as total openness. It hides as the feeling that you finally found your perfect match. It hides as the idea that you must enjoy every remaining moment of life. But it gets even darker. Let's talk about the second danger, the pressure of time that twists your judgment. When you're 25 and a relationship ends, comes, you think, I still have a long life ahead. You heal, you learn, you move on. But after 60, your mind whispers something completely different. It tells you this is your last chance. If you miss it, you will grow old alone. That thought, that fear of being alone forever is one of the strongest emotional traps that exists. And I want you to understand this, that fear is not foolish. It is very human. The idea of being alone at an older age terrifies many people. But here is where the real danger begins. Choices made from fear almost always lead to suffering. Let me tell you about a man who was 64. He was retired and had lost his wife 3 years earlier. His children lived in different cities. He met a woman at a dance event. She was social, warm, and lively. She brought brightness into his quiet world. After 2 weeks, they were meeting every day. After 1 month, she was practically living in his home. After 3 months, he asked her to marry him. His children begged him to slow down and reminded him that he barely knew her. But he replied, "You're young. You have time. I don't. I won't waste what little life I have left." 6 months later, already married, he found out she had huge debts she had hidden, and she expected him to pay them because in her mind, that's what marriage meant. Her outgoing lifestyle meant constant, expensive outings with friends, all paid with his money. But the most painful part wasn't the money. It was the emotional pressure. Every time he tried to set boundaries, she would say things like, "You don't love me anymore. You regret choosing me. Maybe I should leave and let you be alone again." And that was the perfect trap. Terrified of being alone again, he kept giving in. He lost his peace. He lost his independence. He damaged his bond with his children, and he lost a large part of his savings, all because he acted from fear and from the feeling of now or never. But here is what almost no one talks about. This pressure of time is mostly an illusion. Yes, an illusion. The belief that after 60, your chance at love is gone is something created by fear. The truth is very different. More people than ever are finding meaningful connections later in life. With today's ways of meeting people and longer lifespans, your chances for love are far from over. But when you convince yourself that this is your final chance, your brain enters survival mode. And in that state, you begin to accept things you should never accept. You ignore red flags. You tolerate disrespect. You silence your instincts. Because when fear controls you, any company feels better than being alone. But that is a lie, a harmful lie. A bad relationship after 60 doesn't just hurt your feelings, it can affect your health. The stress of a toxic bond damages your body, increases heart risks, and affects your mental well-being. Being alone is much better than being stuck in a painful relationship, especially at this stage of life. And it goes even deeper. There is a third danger that is even more hidden. We need to talk about something many people feel embarrassed to bring up, but is extremely important. Money and financial security in relationships after 60 is a topic many avoid. But this isn't about greed or being cold. This is about staying safe. Because here is the hard truth. After 60, you usually have something worth protecting. Maybe a house you paid off over decades. Maybe your retirement funds. Maybe investments or an inheritance meant for your children. And unfortunately, there are people who seek relationships with older adults for financial gain. Yes, it happens more than you think. I'm not saying everyone who approaches you is dangerous. Many are sincere, but emotional and financial predators do exist. And after 60, you may become an easier target. Why? First, because you usually have assets. Second, because loneliness makes you emotionally softer. Third, because your generation was raised to trust people more openly, unlike younger generations who grew up in a world filled with scams. Let me share a story. A 66-year-old retired university professor with a stable pension and her own home in a good neighborhood met a man in a small cafe. He was gentle, respectful, and spoke with the kind of charm that made her feel safe. He sent her flowers, called her every single day, and used beautiful, thoughtful words that made her feel awake again. After so many years of living in silence, she finally felt noticed, appreciated, and alive. After 4 months of dating, he told her he was facing some temporary financial issues. His business had collapsed. He had debts, but he insisted everything would be fine very soon because a new project was almost completed. She was deeply in love, so she helped him with money. She convinced herself, this is only for now, he would do the same if I needed it. 2 months later, he asked for more money to finish the project once and for all. She took a loan against her own house, and you already know how the story ends. He vanished. She lost her home. At 66, she had to move into a tiny apartment, start working again, and face her children's painful disappointment because they had warned her more than once. But the most heartbreaking part wasn't just the money. The real wound happened inside her. She kept repeating to herself, how could I be so naive? I'm an intelligent, educated woman. How did this happen to me? But she was not naive. She was human. Love, especially when mixed with loneliness and the deep need to feel close to someone, changes your judgment. It makes you want to trust. It makes you ignore warning signs. It makes you explain away strange behavior. And this is exactly where danger grows. Predators know perfectly how to identify emotional hunger. They know what phrases to use. They know how to make someone who has felt invisible suddenly feel important again. They know how to create quick artificial closeness. They know how to start with tiny requests that slowly turn into serious exploitation. And this does not always appear as asking directly for money. Manipulation can be extremely subtle. Maybe he asks you to put his name on part of your property to make things easier. Maybe he tries to persuade you to adjust your will because it's only practical. Maybe he slowly distances you from your family by saying they don't understand your relationship. Maybe he moves into your home and never contributes financially. Maybe he uses your credit cards or asks you to co-sign his debts. And the most dangerous part is that these demands almost always come wrapped in romantic language. If you really loved me, I thought we were partners. Why don't you trust me? So what should you do? Become suspicious of everyone? Trust nobody? Of course not. But a healthy level of self-protection is absolutely necessary. Never mix finances before you genuinely know someone. And know someone means at least 1 full year of steady, consistent behavior. Talk to your children or trusted friends before making big financial decisions involving a partner, because people outside the relationship often see things you cannot. Keep your bank accounts separate. Protect your property and savings legally at all times. And if you're thinking about living together or getting married, consider a legal agreement first. It may not feel romantic, but it is wise because real love respects your independence and your financial safety. If someone pressures you, manipulates your feelings, or tries to make you feel guilty for protecting your resources, that person isn't loving you. They're taking advantage of you. But there is another hidden danger no one talks about, and it matters deeply. It's the clash between two long, fully lived life stories. This is something young people rarely think about, but after 60, it becomes huge. At that age, both people come with decades of habits, hurts, memories, routines, and firm beliefs. You are no longer blank pages. You are complete books, full of powerful chapters. Some chapters are wonderful, some are painful, but every one of them shaped who you are right now. And when two complete books try to merge into one, conflict becomes almost impossible to avoid. Think carefully about this. At 60, you usually have very fixed routines. You wake up at a certain time. You eat the same type of breakfast. You have personal spaces and daily rituals that bring you comfort. You have adult children who are part of your life. Maybe you have grandchildren you see on weekends. You have friendships that have lasted for many years. You have strong political opinions, moral values, or spiritual beliefs. You have your own way of handling money, organizing your home, and deciding how you spend your holidays. Now imagine another person entering this carefully built world. They bring their routines, their children, their friendships, their beliefs, their temper, their lifestyle. It is not small, it is not simple. It is a huge emotional and practical adjustment, not because love is impossible, but because joining two entire worlds at this stage is far harder than when two young people begin a life from zero. It requires patience, it requires emotional awareness, it requires flexibility, and above all, it requires courage to let go of some things without losing yourself. What feels tiny at 20 becomes a mountain at 60. Again, at this age, both people carry decades of habits, emotional scars, opinions, and fixed ways of thinking. No one is an empty page anymore. Each person is a full, detailed book. And when two full books try to become one, friction is almost guaranteed. Picture it clearly. At 60, a person's habits are solid. They wake up at the same hour. They eat familiar meals. They keep their personal routine and orderly spaces. They have adult kids deeply involved in their life, maybe grandchildren who visit often. They have long friendships, deep political, moral, and spiritual opinions, clear ways of managing money, setting up their home, and choosing vacations. And then suddenly, someone else steps into this established world with their own structure. The clash can be strong. One example is a man of 68 who lost his wife years before. She was 65 and divorced. They met at a book club, slowly fell in love, and decided to move in together. In the beginning, it felt magical. There was laughter, shared stories, warm meals, and the comfort of not being alone anymore. But after 3 months, small cracks began to show. He ate dinner early, watched the news at 6:30, and went to bed by 9. She preferred dinner at 9, stayed awake until midnight, and liked watching series before sleeping. He was extremely tidy. She was relaxed and comfortable leaving things on the table. But the real problems were deeper than habits. His son came every Sunday with the grandchildren. For him, this time was sacred. For her, it felt like they never had quiet moments because family was always around. She met her friends twice a week, which he slowly began to interpret as rejection. He thought couples should spend most of their free time together. And then came the most sensitive issue. He was conservative, she was more progressive. At first, they avoided these topics, but soon every conversation felt like walking on thin ice. What happened next is something that happens often. Both tried to change each other. He wanted her to follow his routines. She wanted him to be more flexible. But deep inside, both felt, at this age, I'm not changing. And this is the real challenge of love after 60. You need flexibility exactly at a time in life when you have the least of it. Not because people are stubborn, but because their mind has formed strong patterns over many years. Identity feels settled. Habits feel permanent. Real change takes effort, and many people at this age no longer want to invest that kind of energy. Then the quiet struggle begins. Resentment grows. Thoughts of the peaceful life they had before enter their mind. They begin comparing everything with their old independent life, and what started as love slowly turns into daily tension, sharp comments, and small emotional hurts. I have seen couples become physically sick from this stress. Anxiety, sleepless nights, stomach problems, constant tension from trying to force two full lives into one can be overwhelming. And here is something rarely said out loud. You do not need to live together. It's true. Today you can have a deep, secure, loving relationship after 60 without sharing the same home every day. There is even a name for it. Living apart but together. Separate homes, connected hearts. Both people keep their independence, their routines, their personal space while still enjoying companionship, closeness, romance, and support. They meet often, they share what truly matters to them, they care for one another, yet at the end of the day, each person returns to their own calm and private space. And for many people after 60, this type of relationship is not only comfortable but almost ideal. It keeps a little mystery alive, it lowers daily misunderstandings, it protects each person's individuality. Society loves to insist that real love must involve living under one roof, that staying in separate homes means someone is afraid to commit. That belief is simply outdated. It is an old social expectation that no longer fits many modern lives. Real connection is not proven by sharing a house. It is shown through respect, steady support, trust, and emotional availability. But there is another delicate part of later life love that carries one of the biggest risks. It is the subject people prefer to avoid: sexuality after 60, and how it can slowly turn into an emotional trap if you are not careful. We have to speak plainly about what most people pretend does not exist. People over 60 still have a sexual self. They still long for closeness. They still feel physical attraction. This part of being human does not vanish with age. It simply takes a slightly different form. But when someone has gone many years, even decades, without any physical touch, returning to intimacy can feel almost overwhelming, and this is where real danger can hide quietly. A person can easily mix up the strength of physical closeness with genuine love. Let me explain in simple words. If someone has been living alone for a long time, if their last romantic moment feels like something from another lifetime, and suddenly someone touches them again, looks at them with desire, makes them feel attractive and alive again, the brain releases a storm of chemicals. The body responds with powerful bonding hormones. This intense rush can make a person believe they have found deep, soul-shaking love. But in many cases, it is not love. It is the relief of a natural human need that has been resting for too long. I have heard many people say, "I have never felt anything like this. This must be real love." And the most honest question is often, how can you be sure this is love and not just the return of physical closeness after years of emotional dryness? This difference is critical because when you start making major decisions like moving in together, getting married, or tying your finances to someone else simply because the physical connection feels incredibly strong, you may be building your future on something too fragile to support real life. Sexuality is beautiful, it is natural, it is part of being whole, but on its own it is not enough. And after 60, confusing desire with love can tie you to people who are not emotionally steady, not morally aligned with you, or not healthy for your heart. There is another layer to this that very few talk about openly. The pressure to perform. Yes, bodies naturally change after 60. That is normal. But many people suddenly feel they must prove themselves, must not disappoint, must show they are still desirable. This pressure can push people into accepting things they never would have accepted in their younger years. I have seen women stay silent when they were treated with disrespect simply because they said, "At least I feel wanted again." I have seen men remain in clearly hurtful relationships because they told themselves, "She makes me feel young again." Physical connection can become a sweet but dangerous trap. It feels warm, reassuring, even healing, but it can tie you to a relationship that offers very little real emotional safety. It becomes something golden on the surface, but it binds you in ways you do not notice until later. But here is the truth that can free you. You deserve a relationship where everything lines up honestly: respect, open communication, emotional support, real compatibility, and yes, satisfying physical closeness as well. You do not have to choose between love and desire. You do not have to settle for someone touching you just so you do not feel invisible. You deserve a connection that is complete, truthful, and balanced. When you lower your standards, you are not only limiting yourself from a healthy relationship, you are also blocking the chance to receive the kind of love that strengthens you instead of quietly weakening you. Fear of losing physical affection can make people tolerate things they should never accept. stopped. I have seen women endure emotional coldness just to feel valued again. I have seen men stay in empty relationships because the closeness makes them feel relevant and alive. Physical intimacy can easily turn into a comforting but dangerous addiction, soothing and pleasant, but powerful enough to keep you tied to someone who does not truly nourish your heart. And this is where true freedom begins. You deserve a connection where every part of the relationship supports your well-being. Respect, gentle communication, emotional peace, genuine compatibility, and physical closeness that is mutual and safe. You do not need to choose between affection and love. You do not need to tell yourself that having someone, anyone, is enough. You deserve depth. You deserve honesty. You deserve balance. Because settling for less does not just keep you from a healthy relationship. It closes the door to a love that could raise you up instead of slowly draining your energy. There was a woman who was 65 and divorced. She met a man in a book group. They fell in love and they decided to share a home. At first, everything felt almost magical to her, but after 3 months, tension began to grow quietly between them. He liked to eat dinner early, watch the news at 6:30 and go to bed around 9. She preferred eating late, staying awake until midnight and watching her favorite shows. He was organized and very particular. She was more relaxed and often left things where they landed, but the real problems were deeper than simple habits. His son visited every Sunday with the grandchildren. For him, this was non-negotiable. For her, it felt like they never had private time because family visits filled their weekends. She also spent time with her friends twice a week, which he took personally, as if she was choosing them over him. He believed that being a couple meant spending most of their time together. Then came the most delicate issue of all. He was conservative in his views. She was more progressive. At first, they avoided the subject completely, but slowly every conversation started to feel like a dangerous field where one wrong word could turn into an argument.